Welcome back, everyone. Today I have a Zoro deck profile for you. I use this exact deck profile to win me not one, but two different store championship with like 20 plus people. And this is coming with the news that Red had just been hit. So we're going to have a ban list that goes in effect in about 2 weeks, and I will discuss those and what changes I will be making. All right, so of course we have our Zoro leader. That's the simple +1 Don, and all my characters get 1,000 on my turn, which is super good. All right, so this is more of the white build variant. We use a lot of white beard cards, which is why some of the ban lists did hurt us a little bit, but we'll go over it. All right, so 4 of the 5 cost Marco, the new Marco. This is actually one of the cards that we're building this entire deck around. We play so many events in this card simply because this guy is a revival, right? He is a great on play because you can KO up to one of your opponent's character with 3k power or less, which if you play a Gordon now, you're actually taking out like a 6k. You play an Otama, it's actually taking out like a 5k. Usually I play the Gordon, take out like another 6k or something devastating because I don't want to guard against it. But your opponent never wants to attack into this guy because however much resource they have to commit to make it an actual like guarantee kind of kill, it's not worth it because you can just trash one event to bring this back with no other conditions other than you're just trashing an event. Now, this is actually the only hit to the deck with the next ban list, the blocker Marco, because this Marco was never locked in with a Whitebeard leader. It's simply you have to trash a Whitebeard Pirates card and then have 2 life or less to keep on bringing this back. I have won a lot of games in this season because I had him out, because we have going against like Whitebeards and Big Moms, the 10 cost, and you're simply trading out one of these per turn, but you keep getting it back. So you just block the bigger attacks and then you can tank or block the little ones. So, and then when you do go in for your final kill, because he is a 5k, it doesn't take much to make him a 7 in the Zoro deck to go for it, to make him into attacker and go for game. So this is probably the only card that was hit that I'm actually kind of devastated about losing, and we'll have to make changes to the deck about. Next, we have 4 Jozus. This we don't really use because we can't use this for rush. You have to have a leader that includes Whitebeard Pirates, but he's a searchable 2k. So nothing else, searchable 2k, which is why we run 4. Of course, we run 4 Dadan. So many cards in the deck are 1 cost red characters, so you need to search. Speaking of searchers, we have 4 Izos that search for your Whitebeard Pirates, and then 4 Buggies that search for events. Buggy, surprisingly, that first effect where it can't be KO'd by battle by slash attribute cards makes him stick a lot better, because if you're going against another Zoro deck, I mean, they're all slashes, which is really funny. So Buggy can't be taken out by Buggy, and then Zoros can't take out Buggy, which is ridiculously funny and has made him a lot stickier on the board. So my opponent can't just start controlling me with you know, they try to limit your attacks because all you have to do is slap 1 Don under him. Zoro makes him a 5. You can start swinging super early because this deck doesn't really have a late game. Once you play all your searchers, you grab all your stuff, your late games are all about attaching a bunch of Don to make your attacks as big as possible, mainly to your small guys, right? And it is a tough matchup when your opponent knows how to play around this, which means they have to control your board really well. So when you get a good player like that, you actually have to hold back some of your attacks. So like you say you have like 2 or 3 characters out, but your opponent's been controlling your board. Instead of, you know, attaching a little bit to each character, you just attach a lot to one, right? Then you start chipping away at them. You just return the favor. And that's how you play against those control matchups. I learned that the hard way in one of my final rounds at one of the shop tournaments, where the Lucci guy was actually just completely destroying my board turn after turn after turn. And what finally clinched it for me was I started dropping a bunch of my characters and then just holding back their attacks. This way he was like, he couldn't control my board fully, so he knew there was always more attacks coming. All right, next we get into support. Otama, 2k, searchable by Dadan, and on play, give one of my opponent's characters -2. Now that's really good to reduce a lot of characters down to like an optimal number so that you can either Marco it or Fire Fist it. So we'll get to that. So really good. I don't actually use it on play too often, but I do like that it's there. Now, this is, in my opinion, one of the best support cards. I have won countless games because I had Makinos in hand. What I do is I hold them back from guarding. If I have Otamas, I usually toss the Otamas. If I have the Josie, obviously those are going first because there's no other effect other than the fact that they're in there for the 2Ks. I usually hold them back because when your opponents are guarding like late in the game, they're never expecting any of these, let alone like multiple. I've actually won games where I dropped 2 to 3 to pump up like a 1 cost to like 10, 11, 12, depending on, you know, how many Dons I have left and how many of these I have left. And it's usually always like too big for them to stop. Like, this is amazing. I never drop it early. I made that mistake during set 2 because it's too easy to kill. They'll kill it and then you have no way to get back, especially since, you know, I don't play any Utas in this deck anymore. 4 Gordons. Now, I know everybody was playing this in the second set, but I actually did not like it in the second set because there wasn't enough killing, popping off the characters for me to actually want to play this. But now that I have like the event cards like Fire Fist, I actually really do want to play this. Especially since this plus Fire Fist means I can actually get an 8K, which is amazing. So I actually do run 4 of these now. The reason I didn't really run it before is because this was more aggro in the last format. It's a 2K. I had to commit 2 extra Dons to make it an attack, but you never really wanted to attack with this because you really just wanted to throw it down for the pop, which in the previous set, we only had, what's his name, Vista. So popping the 6K wasn't that crazy then. But now that we have, you know, Marco that replaced the Vista and then Fire Fist, this just really works out well. Even if I'm not using it for the attack, I'm using it for control. Because you really do want to control and limit their attacks in the beginning so that they can't control your board early. And then you can block, you know, their leader attacks coming in. So you really have to pace yourself with this deck. Of course, I am playing 4 Fire Fist. I love this card. This card plus Gordons and Otamas is just like absolutely devastating, especially against yellow when they, you know there's something when they put it on top. They hit it. It's a trigger. It's coming out. It's most likely a 5K. I can't think of anything with a bigger 5K on play trigger for them right now. I don't think they have one yet. I know there's like a Big Mom coming, but they usually have something small on board, and then they usually rely on something like that coming out. And because they had already just pitched a card, this coming out, popping it, devastating. Against Whitebeard decks, I usually weaken them with, you know, Gordon and Otamas. There was like a matchup where they had played a King Do, and I think it was an Ace, and I had basically Otama'd one of them. Both of them are 7Ks. I Otama'd one of them and Gordon the other, and then Fire Fisted. So I saved myself a lot of pain that turn just because I Fire Fisted. And it doesn't matter that I play 4 because, you know, I could pitch the Fire Fist for the Fire Fist because all you have to do is trash an event to kill a 5K and a 4K, which is amazing. The trigger, I almost never use. I kind of just like it better in my hand. So I can pick the timing and pick the targets rather than, you know, but against one of the Lucci players, this actually did come in handy in trigger, right? Because Borsellino, which Black has a good matchup against my version, which is why I had such a tough battle, is because Borsellino and Fukuro could not be popped. So these were always dead in my hand until I actually ended up hitting one in trigger in one of the final rounds. It was a best 2 out of 3. And he had 3 Borsellinos out. I had to chip away at him slowly. But hitting into one of these in my life, I actually was able to pop the Borsellino because it was his turn. It was only 5K and then the protection effect wasn't active. So next we have 4 Whitebeard Pirates. You know, Searcher, Izo on without legs. Look at top 5, grab a Whitebeard Pirates character. This one can only grab a character though. Next we have our defensive card. I play 3 Guard Point and 3 Radby, right? I don't actually maximize out on my defense because of all the 2Ks I play. I guard the early attacks, and then I usually control the board well enough where I only have like 2 maybe life by like the time we're all at 10 dawn. So usually they don't play any more small characters. So the 2Ks are, you know, just extra support for these. I don't like having too many clogged up in my hand, especially early game if we're playing all events, right? Now, Rad Beam just got hit to 1. I'm not too devastated. I can switch out 1 Rad Beam for, you know, another guard point and maybe toss in Red Hawks. There are replacements, right? The only issue I have is simply losing this blocker Marco. These 2 Marcos are the reason I play so many events in this deck. And a lot of the events are, for example, Wipe Your Pirates, because these are pitchable for both. I can keep this Marco if I change up the deck. The only issue is I won't be able to search it anymore, right? Because if I switch it to essentially a Straw Hat variant, this doesn't change just because, I mean, I play Straw Hat events now in a Whitebeard deck. So putting Whitebeard cards in a Straw Hat deck really won't change my consistency any. And these are replaceable by the Straw Hats. There's a Straw Hat version of this. What is it, like see you in 2 years, something like that. And then everything else was replaceable. So like, for example, Ezo is replaceable by Nami. You're gonna play the Straw Hat versions, right? This is obviously gonna come out. So I could play like Brooks that are also 2Ks, but that do something, or the Luffy that actually ends up being like a 7K attacker. So these are like the changes I'll be implementing. But the only thing is, I don't know how to fix this. If we change the deck out, this is the reason that we play so many events, right? Because tossing the extra Whitebeard events for this, or any extra Whitebeard cards, you built this deck around Whitebeard because of these 2 Marcos. I could probably still keep these. I can probably still keep these and then change this to a more Straw Hat variant. But I will be testing the changes I have in mind, and then I will keep you guys posted. And after I, you know, do a lot of testing and figure out how well it does. But for now, you still have like 2 weeks of playing this. If you have a store championship, go out and get it. Yeah, like I said, this won me 2 back-to-back store championship in 2 different states. So good luck, and I'll see you guys soon.